Most Canadians have no idea they're drinking beer loaded with the same corn syrup found in cheap soda, pesticide residue from GMO grains, and chemical stabilizers also used in antifreeze, all hidden behind those familiar logos you've trusted your entire life. The brands sponsoring Hockey Night in Canada aren't giving you premium quality. They're giving you the cheapest possible ingredients wrapped in patriotic marketing. But which specific Canadian beers are the absolute worst offenders? And which four are actually pure enough to drink safely? You crack open a Molson Canadian after a long day and take that first cold sip. It tastes like Canada, right? That's what the commercials tell you. That's what the I am Canadian rants promised for decades. But what if everything you believed about this iconic beer was carefully crafted marketing, and what's actually inside that red bottle is something your grandfather wouldn't even recognize as beer? Walk into any liquor store from Vancouver to Halifax, and you'll see Molson Canadian and Labatt Blue dominating the shelves. These two giants own Canadian beer culture. They sponsor our hockey teams. Their logos are everywhere during the Stanley Cup playoffs. We grew up thinking these were premium products, beers brewed with Canadian pride and quality. But pick up a bottle of Molson Canadian and really read what's inside. You won't find pure malted barley proudly listed. Instead, you'll see the vague phrase cereal grains buried in tiny print. What does that actually mean? It means Molson Canadian uses corn and rice as cheap substitutes for traditional barley malt, cutting their costs by nearly 40% while still charging you premium prices. That golden color you see when you pour it into a glass. It's not from carefully roasted malt. It comes from caramel coloring, an artificial additive that makes cheap beer look expensive. The brewing process takes just 7 days compared to traditional craft brewing that needs 4 to 6 weeks. Why does speed matter? Because there's no time for real flavor development, no time for natural ingredients to create authentic taste. So they add it back artificially. Now grab a Labatt Blue. This beer claims to be Canada's best since 1847. The label shows heritage, tradition, and quality. But independent lab tests found something disturbing in that familiar blue bottle. Propylene glycol alginate. This chemical stabilizer keeps the foam thick and stable on top of your beer. That perfect white head that stays, it's not natural. Propylene glycol alginate is also found in antifreeze formulations. You're literally drinking a chemical used to winterize your car's radiator system. And just like Molson Canadian, Labatt Blue relies heavily on high fructose corn syrup and genetically modified corn instead of honest barley. These aren't beers in the traditional sense. They're mass-produced beverages engineered in corporate labs to maximize profit while minimizing cost. The recipes your great-grandparents knew are long gone, replaced by industrial shortcuts and chemical additives. Both Molson Canadian and Labatt Blue use what's called adjunct brewing, where cheaper grains replace expensive malted barley. Why pay for quality when consumers can't taste the difference after decades of drinking watered-down products? The companies bet you won't notice, won't care, won't read the labels. They flood you with patriotic imagery, hockey sponsorships, and Canadian flags so you feel good buying their product. Meanwhile, they're filling those bottles with GMO corn syrup, artificial stabilizers, and chemical colorings. This is just the beginning. 2 iconic brands down, 6 more to expose, and then we'll show you the 4 that are actually safe. Let's go deeper. You've probably got Canadian and Coors Light in your fridge right now. These aren't just mediocre beers. They represent everything wrong with corporate brewing in Canada. Canadian, despite every patriotic marketing campaign, is owned by Molson Coors, a massive multinational corporation that shifted most brewing operations outside Canada years ago. That I am Canadian pride, it's manufactured nostalgia designed to keep you buying while they brew your beer in cost-optimized facilities using the cheapest ingredients possible. Independent testing recently revealed something truly shocking: traces of glyphosate in Canadian beer. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup weed killer. How does pesticide end up in your beer? Through the genetically modified corn and barley used in brewing. These GMO grains are heavily sprayed during farming, and those chemicals don't just disappear. They end up concentrated in your weekend six-pack. You're drinking measurable pesticide residue with every sip of Canadian. Coors Light takes industrial brewing to even more disturbing levels. This beer is filtered so aggressively that almost all natural flavor gets stripped away during processing. The solution? Add artificial flavoring agents back in to create that Rocky Mountain cold refreshment you taste in commercials. Those mountains you see in advertisements? Pure fiction. Coors Light contains GMO corn syrup as a primary ingredient, foam stabilizers like alginate, and clarifying agents made from fish bladders called isinglass. Yes, fish parts in your beer, and they never mention it anywhere on the sleek aluminum bottles or in those Super Bowl commercials. Both Canadian and Coors Light use high-gravity brewing, a cost-cutting technique where they brew super strong beer and then water it down with deoxygenated water to reach the target alcohol content. This completely compromises flavor integrity and nutritional value. You're essentially drinking diluted chemical beer. The pattern is clear now. Major corporations purchase beloved Canadian brands, gut the traditional recipes that made them famous, replace quality ingredients with industrial shortcuts like corn syrup and chemical stabilizers, then continue charging premium prices while banking on consumer loyalty and emotional branding. The packaging looks premium. The marketing screams Canadian heritage. But inside those bottles is a watered-down, chemically enhanced product designed for maximum profit. And we're not done exposing this system yet. Now we're getting to the truly deceptive brands, the ones that exploit Canadian nostalgia and regional pride while delivering some of the lowest quality beer imaginable. Alexander Keith's India Pale Ale and Sleeman Honey Brown Lager represent corporate fraud disguised as heritage brewing. Alexander Keith's, marketed as Nova Scotia's pride since 1820, wants you to believe you're drinking authentic maritime tradition. The reality? It's just another Labatt-owned brand churned out in massive industrial quantities with almost no connection to its original recipe. Recent consumer advocacy testing revealed something disturbing. Alexander Keith's IPA contains artificial hop flavoring compounds instead of actual whole hops. Real India Pale Ales are defined by heavy hopping, lots of real hops creating authentic bitterness, aroma, and preservation. That's literally what IPA means. But Keith's uses cheap hop extract mixed with synthetic flavoring agents to fake the taste, slashing production costs while deceiving customers who expect genuine IPA character. The India Pale Ale label is essentially fraudulent marketing. Sleeman Honey Brown Lager takes deception even further. Look at that label. See the word honey right there in the name? You'd expect significant honey content, right? Real honey giving the beer sweetness and that beautiful brown color? Wrong. The actual honey content in Sleeman Honey Brown is less than 1% of the total recipe. So, what creates the sweetness? High fructose corn syrup, the same cheap sweetener in discount sodas. What creates that rich brown color? Caramel coloring additives. Independent laboratory. Analysis found Sleeman contains carrageenan, a seaweed-derived stabilizer that's been linked to digestive inflammation and gut problems in multiple peer-reviewed scientific studies. You're drinking a beer named after an ingredient it barely contains, sweetened with corn syrup, colored artificially, and stabilized with an inflammatory chemical compound. The systematic problem is now impossible to ignore. Major corporations have systematically purchased beloved Canadian beer brands, completely gutted their traditional recipes and quality standards, replaced authentic ingredients with the cheapest possible industrial shortcuts, and continue charging premium prices by exploiting consumer loyalty and emotional attachment to heritage branding. You're not buying Nova Scotia tradition or Ontario honey sweetness. You're buying marketing illusions wrapped around corn syrup, chemical additives, and corporate cost cutting. 2 more brands to expose. Then we reveal the safe alternatives. Before we get to the safe options, let's expose the final 2 brands you need to stop buying immediately. Budweiser Canada and Rickard's Red Round out our list of 8 beers, poisoning Canadians with cheap ingredients and deceptive marketing. Budweiser, even though it's brewed under license in Canada, follows the exact same Anheuser-Busch InBev formula used worldwide. Maximum adjuncts, minimum quality, maximum profit. Laboratory testing shows rice makes up nearly 40% of the grain bill in Budweiser Canada, with genetically modified corn contributing another massive portion. There's barely any malted barley in this beer. It's essentially rice water, with alcohol, chemical stabilizers, and artificial carbonation. And you're paying premium prices for it because of global branding and massive advertising budgets. Rickard's Red, owned by Molson Coors, markets itself as a premium amber lager with heritage dating back to the 1800s. But crack open a bottle, and you're getting the exact same. Corn syrup, caramel coloring, and foam stabilizers as all the other Molson products, just packaged in red marketing instead of blue. The premium label means nothing when the ingredients are identical to the cheapest options on the shelf. Now here's the good news. 4 Canadian beer brands are actually safe, pure, and worth every penny. First, Unibrew from Quebec crafts authentic Belgian-style ales using only traditional ingredients: malted barley, real Belgian yeast strains, authentic spices, and absolutely zero adjuncts or artificial additives. Their La Fin du Monde and Maudite are bottle-conditioned naturally, meaning live yeast continues fermenting in the bottle, creating complex flavors that develop over time. This is real beer, brewed the way it's been done for centuries. Second, Beau's All Natural Brewing from Ontario holds certified organic status, meaning every ingredient is verified organic. Organic malted barley, organic hops, pure water, and yeast. Nothing else, ever. Their Lugtread Lagered Ale is clean, crisp, refreshing, and completely transparent in sourcing. You can literally trace every ingredient back to the farm. Third, Phillips Brewing from British Columbia voluntarily publishes complete ingredient lists for every beer they make, something corporate breweries would never risk. Their Blue Buck Ale contains only 4 ingredients: malted barley, hops, water, and yeast. Period. No corn, no rice, no chemicals, no shortcuts. Plus, they use solar power for brewing operations, showing commitment to quality beyond just ingredients. Fourth, Steam Whistle Brewing in Toronto follows the German Reinheitsgebot, the purity law from 1516, using only malted barley, hops, and water. Their single Pilsner is clean, simple, honest, and delicious. They brew one beer perfectly instead of cutting corners on 20 different products. How do you identify safe beer going forward? Look for organic certification seals on labels. Check brewery websites for complete ingredient transparency. Choose smaller craft breweries over corporate-owned mega brands. Avoid anything listing cereal grains or corn in ingredients. Support breweries that openly publish their brewing process and ingredient sourcing. The difference in taste is immediate and obvious once you compare. Real beer has complexity, natural carbonation, rich flavors, and doesn't leave you feeling bloated or chemically loaded. Stop letting multinational corporations trick you with Canadian flags and hockey sponsorships while filling your body with corn syrup, pesticide residue, and inflammatory chemicals. Choose real beer made with real ingredients. Your body deserves better than corporate cost cutting. If this video opened your eyes to what you've really been drinking, share it with every Canadian you know. Drop a comment telling us which brand shocked you most. Subscribe right now, Because we're exposing the food and beverage industry lies every single week, and you need to know what's really in the products you trust. Your health is worth infinitely more than their profit margins. Choose wisely. Choose real. Choose the 4 that are actually safe.